clean up this office too while I got this guy here.
Yeah.
We're gonna
That's
take
a
everything.
building block already.
We're gonna take everything out of the garage and like reorganize it so I know where everything is.
Good idea. That's what I was saying the other day too, is basically when you're not doing something else, do something else that needs to be done so you don't have to do that when you need to do something else. Get
What?
whatever you, well, it sounds kind of silly, but get whatever you can get done when you can get it done. There's certain times when you have to go to a job and you don't have anything, but when you're not, get your stuff organized
When
so
you go to a job and you don't have anything? What do you mean by that?
well, you don't have all your
Oh, you
stuff
might want to move
ready.
your screen over.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we're live. Doing it
Oh
live.
no, we're live. I'm so scared. Why did we get to be live? Is that better?
Oh, way better.
Okay. What I do, I just move your face in front of mine and I just talk to you.
Oh, there you go.
That's
Sweet.
the easiest way for me. Um, but yeah, we were just a second ago, we were talking about building blocks or basically knowing your foundation before doing a sales call. So, uh, Scott might have a client who's wanting to do either role playing or other different things. Yet we need to know our basics before we even go on. What are you selling, guys? What are you selling? Do you even know what your product is? I'm going to tell you, I did a terrible sales call the other day. The truth is, you know, I put out a lot of people, and I don't really put out really high end magicians most of the time. And so I went in there half cocked because I know this girl I was talking to basically didn't know what she was talking about. And I said, well, do you have a stage? And she was talking about, anyway, we won't go all into that, but basically I didn't really have a good, I didn't have anything to sell her for what she was asking for. And I was just, I'll get back with you. I'll get back with you. But that's not how you're going to get that sale. You're going to be in there with confidence and you got to have a product that they want. And sometimes if you don't have that product, it's better just to let that client go and then go learn your product. So that's one of the basic steps that you got to do first. You have to have confidence in what you're selling and know that you're selling a good product. And that's very basic. Yet, if you don't even have that foundation, then you want to work on that. I think one of the first things you want to work on is what are you selling? What do you think?
Well, I can tell you this. Anytime that I saw something that I admired, I thought it worked a certain way, right? So as I start to dig into it and figuring out what the real steps are, I realized that I had to completely change my whole mindset on how that goal was accomplished so easily. So basically, I was talking to somebody, who wanted to do some role playing on how to do a sales call, which is fine. And that I consider that kind of like surface level, right? So, and if you could take somebody who may have a certain mindset of, oh, I think it works like this. And yet you have to break down back to the basics to say, hey, look, if you have a great presentation, then you don't have to do so much objection handling on the end. Because when I went into it, I thought I'd have to do a lot of high pressure sales. And then I start to realize that, I don't need to do high pressure sales because if I force somebody into a service that they may have not have wanted, or if I push somebody that they could end up not being like a good client to begin with. So I don't do high pressure sales. I just do regular normal scarcity sales. When you're like, oh, what's a normal scarcity sale? Well, if you want to get entertainment on a Saturday, well, we only have certain limitability, and that's just like realistic scarcity sales. Like, I mean, you don't have to book if you don't want to. Yet, if you come back next week and we're not here, I mean, the offer was here now. And that also goes back to how good are your systems? Like, so basically, right now, I have my assistant. Going over different things that we have within our CRM, and we are getting calls to fill shows, and she was like, well, how do I know who's available? Well, if you go to the system, it'll tell which guys are available because they put in their time off, and then you can just write a contract and then select their name, and then I've already had the agreement with my entertainment that they are available. Now with Jeff, somebody's calling him for a magician and he doesn't have that person's availability readily in front of him, right? So if somebody calls him, he's got to go call a magician and say, "Are you available this day? How much do you want for this day?" And if it's not something that you're regularly producing, then you have these complications, and then it looks jittery to the end client, right? You don't have a musician. I thought you were a a talent agency that handles this all the time. I mean, why do I have to go through all this? And then at the same time, I was on another sales call and I was explaining to the mom of a quinceanera, and I was like, well, we have this DJ. He's really good with this age group, but if you want someone who speaks Spanish, this is a different guy. And then they were like, why can't I just go to them directly? Because I'm going to be there anyway. See, you want a photo booth, you want up lighting, you want intelligent lighting, and you want a DJ. Now, again, I know these DJs don't have to work for me solely, right? But yet, if you want all these things to happen for your event, it's more likely better for the DJ to go through me, even though I gave you their name and I trust my guys pretty good. And if I said, hey, look, if this person reaches out to you, please just redirect them to me because I've gave them their information, and I trust my guys to be able to do that. And to explain to somebody who's not in my business, right? Somebody who, oh, why are you going to be there? Well, somebody has to manage the team, right? Someone has to make sure that the photo booth 360 gets placed, and not that I go to every single event, but when things are more complicated, yeah, I got to make sure they run properly. And on top of that, it takes two people to lift the 360 out of the van to get there. So normally that's me and another guy, and then of course you're going to have the DJ there, and that would be awkward if they went and hired the DJ directly and then hired me for all the lights, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I didn't make any money off of this DJ because I gave you the name, and that would just not that see how that plays out. That doesn't work out so well. And explaining that to somebody who thinks, again, back to the first thing that I said, they think things operate a certain way, right? So you have to change the whole entire mindset of how a person may think something works in order for them to understand, so that you can move forward. And you also, don't want to feel like you're sliding them or anything, but you got to be. I was completely honest. I was like, yeah, I guess you could go to these guys if you want, but it's going to be super awkward, if I show up to this event with all these lights that or a 360 booth that they don't have or something like that. So, and then they started to understand how the operation works. Because if you look at it, the way the economy works in Florida, it's not like I can guarantee any one of my guys a certain paycheck every single week, because the event world is like, if you don't have a show, then there's nothing going on that week, and I wouldn't want to hold somebody back from like a weekly bar gig or something, and because they have bills too. So there's all these different dynamics that come into play. So there's systems, and if you want to learn how I was able to do my systems, and plus just to get my systems to work in this environment like this, I mean, it's not like a newbie would be able to jump in and be like, "Oh, I got it now." No, this would take some time and some training. I also have a coach online where I bought his inner circle package, right? So he Zooms every single day, and then he shows you how to do everything, to sell products online and do all this stuff. And to him, oh, this is just super easy. You just click these buttons, and this is how you do empty cart, email sequences and this and that. And I'm like, whoa, whoa. Whoa, like, it's a freaking maze inside the software that I just bought. So, but to him, it's super easy. But I flew all the way to San Diego to tell him, hey, look, man, I need your help. And then if you do that and take the extra steps, people like this will listen to you. Because my coach, right? I was just watching some of his videos. This guy makes $400,000 a month just in recurring revenue that of things he's set up through online programs and things that he has to help other people grow their business. And he says, I'm no longer taking any more clients because I have higher price clients that, are paying me lots of money. So think about this. My coach is making $400,000 a year in money that he doesn't have to do
Uh,
too much. Kind of babysitting. It's really kind of passive. He doesn't have to do a lot of it. And at the same time, he says, I'm not doing any more clients like this because I have other clients that pay me way more money. For someone who's making $400,000 a month, I want to know what that way more money and really it's the mind of abundance. I mean, you can hold yourself back and I don't want to do this. Oh, this broke. I won't fix that. Then you really start to trim down on all fixing all these different types of things. But if you just give into the mind of abundance, where you got to fix this thing, you got to fix or spend this money in order to continue with the business. And do you want to continue with the business? Do you have the abundance mindset? Are you willing to put yourself forward to set up the systems in order to grow your business? Because with me, it's not just me. It's my family, my team. We got to keep them all moving. And having the right mindset in order to move forward with all that, with all the chaos of dealing with clients and customers and making sure talent shows up and that they're happy. There's a lot to it. So I have it pretty well organized. We do have our hiccups, but yet anybody who's looking to grow their business or wanting to have a multi-op, I do have a blueprint for you guys. And again, if you want to learn more about, basically it all boils down to, understanding the person in front of you, not just in sales, but with your team, and then showing your team that you have a vision and you stick to your boundaries. Because if you go all the place with your boundaries, I had one guy, he was like, "Oh, I just want this one day off." Well, this one day off just turned into, "Oh, it's just 2 days." Now this just 2 days just turned into 3 days, right? And if you let them get away with it and not, check them on it, I mean, of course there's, give and play to everything. Yet at the same time, you still have a business to run. You still have clients to keep happy, and there's a lot going on for what you have in your circle. Now, that's just how I operate. And again, if you want to see my sales and my numbers and everything, I've had continued growth. And again, what was the name? Understanding your building blocks. Like you got to have the foundation in the beginning. Like, what do you want to do? What is your goal? What are you willing to do it? And understanding that there are different ways to get to that end goal. Again, somebody who goes to a stage hypnotist show, guys controlling the whole room. And if you don't know anything about hypnosis, you wouldn't be like, well, how the hell is this happening? The stage hypnotist that I go to see, he brings helpers with him because he controls the whole room. People in the back of the audience who aren't even on stage would be drooling on themselves, and he has to go send people to go wake them up. How does that happen? Right? Well, I drove all the way to Tennessee and spent a week with a guy just to get a clip of the iceberg of how that happens. And I've been able to apply those principles to my business. And well, with the economy and everything going up, I'm seem to be doing pretty good. That was a mouthful. Sorry.
There was a mouthful. Again, let's go back to the basics. Uh, Scott just showed you almost a whole plan on how you start doing it. Okay, so let's start out maybe with some NLP going back to the well-formed outcome. Yet, what do you have? What do you want? And what are you going to do to get it? Do you have the resources and everything do you need? Scott's got the resources to do a really good, he's got all the tools to run a bigger company. But where are you at now? I mean, if you're not where Scott is, you got to start somewhere. But building blocks, the first thing I think you need to know, in my belief, is what do you have to sell? Do you have anything to sell? And if you don't, go find something to sell or work for somebody else and you become the product, and or you can be the product and you can also get others. That's how I started. Mostly I was the product and then they needed more product so I got another guy and so we became partners, juggling. So after that they needed some more stuff like face painters and ballooners, and as you grow, you each one of those individual people, like Scott has to use, like he just said, he's got photo booths, he's got lighting, he's got draping, he's got people, he's got DJs, he's got whatever he needs for each event. Now, one thing, what he has is also confidence. And when he gets on the phone, he knows what he's talking about. So I'm just giving an example of the other day when I tried to sell something I didn't really have at that moment. And it was just a struggle. So what are you selling? And this is the basics. So get what you're selling, get the confidence that you know what you got to sell, and then work on your sales pitch. And I think it's good to go in there. And if you're a newbie, you're going to have to go through some sales calls just to get where you have the confidence to talk to people. And if you're not there, that's one of your first steps. If you're already a DJ or something and you've been talking to people, you've got a theater degree or whatever, you probably already know how to get in front of somebody. Now, what do you have to sell? And what Scott does, he gives you all the information so that the client feels comfortable that he knows what he's talking about. So a lot of times you have to go in there and you have to educate your client because they don't even know what the hell your stuff is. They just know they want one. I'm supposed to get a DJ and I'm supposed to get this done and I need you to do it. Now, they don't even have a thought really at the basic, all the things, components it takes to do a whole show. And like I was she the girl I was talking to the other day, it was like they wanted this big bang at the end of their thing, and I kept on getting more information from her, and it was like, oh well, we have a DJ already. Okay, we're going to do games. Okay, then we're going to do this. And I said, okay, well, if you want a stage magician, do you have a stage? Well, we don't have a stage. It's like, what? And I'm thinking, what magician can do it? Wasn't a big party, about 100 people, and it's pretty small, yet I said, do you know, she wanted like a 45-minute show. Do you know, if you don't have chairs for these people, they're going to get tired watching a magician. They're not going to have a good time. I mean, I already know that because I'm an entertainer. I'm like, so anyway, I didn't educate her well enough because I really didn't understand her situation because I hadn't done it enough. And I kind of just blew it off and put it to a magician who knows how to do stage shows and everything, and said, "Go see if you can sell this." But if you don't know what you're selling, it's going to be hard to get the sale. What do you think on that?
Yeah, that's usually what I tell my team is it's like when somebody comes to me, I want to make sure that they go into the student chair, and then how do I position my language so that they're in the student chair? And there's a bunch of different inside one of my classes, I talk about different taglines and different things that you can use within inside your sales pitch. So one of them would be, I know you're not getting married every weekend. Now, what does that sentence say? That sentence says, I'm doing this every single weekend. I know this is not something you're doing every weekend. And then follow up that line with, oh, our company does 300 events a year. So that immediately, well, we'll say immediately, but yeah, that's talking to the subconscious mind, right? And that's where I learned all of my language patterns is from hypnosis. So you think about it like this: the conscious mind has their fist up, right? Like you don't want to sit there and punch with the conscious mind. You want to slip past the conscious mind into the subconscious mind. So you just say language patterns in certain sentences that slip past the guard, but yet you're still delivering the message, right? So basically,
Right?
and then of course we use enhancers. So when you use enhancer like the word right, that means that they're agreeable with you. So once you have somebody who's agreeable with you, that's called rapport. And then you build rapport as you continue with your conversation. So basically, this is teachable. So if somebody, like the funniest thing is, or the thing that I find oxymoron, or what I find weird about it is like somebody who's not getting enough sales would be like, "Oh, I don't know why I'm not getting enough sales." Well, what did you say? How is it lined up? Did you say the right thing? So basically, um, as you're giving your presentation, you want to make sure that you set yourself as the professional. Well, you don't have to say, "I'm the professional." Like that, what's that gonna do? Like, that's what a narcissist would say. Oh, I'm just the best. You should just go with me because I'm the best. Well, there's other ways to say that without
Without
saying that
saying it.
that directly. And somebody who doesn't understand what I'm even talking about, like you could say, well, well, prestige, right? Oh, I'd be like, oh yeah, well, this is what my McDonald's client uses. Do you think that'd be good for you? Security, right? Somebody who's motivated by security. You'd be like, well, we've done 300 events a year, and we always make sure to have extra gear on us when we show up to an event because we have no idea what could happen. And well, Murphy's Law, and then you just leave it open, right? Then their mind will close that loop. You don't have, yeah, open loops are great too. You just leave a question out there, and then whatever they decide that meaning is what they decide, right? And then you're not fighting with the conscious mind. The unconscious mind is going, well, what does he mean by that? Yeah, right? And then, talk to me. Inside of that, there's confusion patterns, right? Like, not that I would want to confuse anybody, but yet if somebody's trying to close a loop, like Murphy, you just like what I mean, Murphy's Law, and then now they're trying to close what that means, right? So when you have a confusion pattern is when you could put a direct suggestion, right? You say, well, you don't have to book right now, right? And then you put the um, negation in front of it, which again, if you guys don't know what negation is like if I tell you not to think of a purple elephant, you actually have to think of a purple elephant in order to cross it out. So if I say you don't have to book right now, but you can, or maybe you can book later, and that's called a double bind, right? Well, I tell you what, you don't have to book right now, but right? And then but negates that. And then I'm going to send you an offer that's going to expire within 7 days. And that implies scarcity. Well, you have to give them a sense of urgency because they're not going to make a decision if they don't have to. And again, this is all built into your presentation. So you don't need, like somebody wants to do objection handling, which is fine. I mean, you could do that. But if your presentation's handling all the objections before they even come up, then you don't have to have that. And then they may have a few questions at the end. And again, there's so many different things to talk about, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. And that right there is stuff that I spent over $50,000 to learn.
Yeah, well, see, if you can if you can go in there and you can knock out any of their objections before they have them, kind of what you're doing, you're setting your ground, and when if something does come up, you're ready to handle that. But you get them before that. And again, if you're using NLP or hypnosis, you can get a yes set going or a compliance set, confusion set, and then slip in things. There's all those too. But and what I always suggest at the very basic, have a good product. And if you don't have a good product, go find one.
Well, I'll tell you what my coach says.
Okay.
You can use all these tricks, but they're only for good. If you use them for bad, it's gonna come back to you. And that's the universal law. So I could teach you all these things and you could go out there and be maleficent, but that's not going to work for you. That's just going to come back to you. So anyway, I think, and what my coaches say is that if these are all the tools available to you, then you might as well use them. And if you're gonna, because it's for your benefit, right? So, and you can even tell people as you're saying these things, well, I've had a bunch of these calls, and these are the things I've learned throughout the years, and this is what a confusion pattern is, and if it's working, great. And I've actually had people at the end of a call say, I don't know what it is, but I just feel so good with you. And like it's more than using the language patterns. It's the thought process behind it. And that's what some people don't understand. So when people are talking to me, I had one guy, he said, "Oh, I really want to control my vendors." He's a venue owner, right? And I want more ways to control my vendor. Well, when people use words like that, that means they want to control you. That's the subconscious talking to you. And then when somebody says control, I stopped them. And I was like, "Don't you mean manage?" and and then he stopped. Oh, you know what I mean? No, or maybe I do know what you mean, and I'm gonna go somewhere else. So again, it's not so much the language; it's the thought behind it, and that if you understand how all the language patterns play out, it'll only supercharge your persuasive skills if that's what you're looking to do. But at the end of the day, if you're going out and taking advantage over people, that's not going to get you anywhere. So these things aren't used to be evil to somebody. These things are used to help you benefit your company, your business, your livelihood, your team, and also what Jeff is saying. Have
Also,
it,
at the end
have a
of the
good
day, I'm sorry.
product. No, no, just have a good product. I mean,
Yeah.
and generally mean well. If you go in with intent to harm, and if you have anybody around you or in your circle or on your team with intent to harm, get rid of them, no matter what the cost.
Yeah. Intent. And what you really want at the end of the day, at every single situation with everyone in your life, a win-win situation where maybe you don't get all you want and maybe they don't get all they want, but both of you get something that really was good. So when you go out to a client, always understand that if you don't have win-win situations, pretty soon you'll start losing your clients and you'll lose the people you're working with too. So make sure you find out what you want to do and then do it with integrity because do the best you can. And we go back to a golden rule basically is do the best you can every single day with what you have because if you don't, you'll live in regret. So don't live in regret. Oh, I just did a double. Anyway, be the best you can each and every day and figure out what you're selling and get the basics done. Because if you don't know what you're selling at the very basic and you don't have that, then it's going to be hard to sell it to somebody else. It's like, you know what I mean?
Be
I have a
careful with your
car.
negations.
You know what I mean? I have a car. What kind of car? I don't know. You want to buy it?
Yeah. Oh, that goes to value versus price, right? I was so when I was in Wisconsin, I was talking to a, a well-known performer. Well, in certain circles, right? His name's John Vincent, and he sings the national anthem for, I don't know, the World Series. He was telling me he did one time, and he also did a bunch of stuff in Chicago. Anyway, he was on CNN, and I was talking to him, and I told him I was a hypnotist, and he was asking me a few questions, and I was explaining to him. Well, he also knows Coach Mike Ditka from the Bears, like, and I was like, he was talking to me about all this stuff, and he was going through some issues with his family and stuff. So I was like, well, man, you don't want to focus on the things that you don't like. You want to focus on the goal that you do like, because people run from fear or pleasure, or seek pleasure and run away from pain, right? You're going one way or the other. But if you're just worried about the pain behind you and you're just running in any direction, you could run to worse pain. So you want to focus on the positive, whatever that is. So it's better to focus on the goal that you have versus what you didn't like, so that don't end up somewhere else that's worse.
A little
Potentially.
thing, a little thing on that. Remember, and we already know this, you get 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. What are you thinking? And when you focus on whatever you do, it's the reticulating activating system. When you focus on anything, you find more of it. So if you focus on what you don't want, you're going to find more of it. So know what you don't want and then focus on what you do want, because you want to spend your energy going towards whatever you want. Because if you spend your energy going where you don't want, you'll go there even further. So let's move away from that and go towards. Uh, like he said, people move away from pain and go towards pleasure, basically. And that's humans, most of them. And normal humans will do that. Some may not yet.
I know. There's some
in
studies on
general,
some
in
psychopaths.
in general. So every decision you make is your decision. So that's how wherever you're at right now is every decision you ever made in your life. And taking responsibility for your decisions is, it's always our fault at the end of the day. We put ourselves in that situation. And, some people might have leverage over us. What we want to do at the end of the day, take that leverage away and get our own work for ourselves and not necessarily be independent, but have our own life and find out what we want. Because here we're at the basics again. What do you want? What are you doing to get it? And each day we're building those building blocks. Like the first one, you have to have a product. No matter what, you don't have to be a DJ, you don't have to be an entertainer. You just have to have a product that you can sell and you believe in. Because after end of the day, if you don't believe in your product, they're probably going to catch on to this. And like Scott said, or I said, let's have a win-win situation. So whatever you do in life, let's start the basics, understand where it's at, and then move on towards where we really want to go. Because at the end of the day, you don't, you're not guaranteed the next day. So be the best you can be each and every day. And that's how, because I'm the happiness coach actually. So and I'm an entertainer for 40 years. I know I look about 22, but I'm actually older.
All right. So I think with that, we're gonna go ahead and close up, guys.
Woo!
Again, if you want to do the role playing, we also have a Facebook group if you want to join, www.coachscottking.com, and